Viewers, we're so happy to be here with you on today. My name is Kenyatta Dotson, and I am a lifelong resident of the city of Flint. I'm also a parent. I live, work, serve, play, worship, all of those things right here within our great city. So we're happy to be here with you all today. Thank you so very much for tuning in. We have a wonderful conversation that's going to go forward. I'm a firm believer that nobody can do anything by themselves. We have to connect with one another in order to truly make a difference. Yes, can one person bring about change? Of course, but we can bring about so much more change when we work together. So we are happy to be here in the studio of Out of the Mud, and that is in partnership with George Grundy and also James Mayfield. This space is so incredibly beautiful. If you all have not come by, you got to get by this location so you can see this wonderful studio. If you need some airtime, you want to do a podcast, whatever it is that you desire to do in terms of getting a message out, you need to connect with George and James so that they can help you to satisfy your dreams. Today is my very first podcast in a really long time. I'm always doing lives, and oftentimes I'll do podcasts, but I haven't done one in a long time. So today I'm back, and I'm happy to be in front of you all with my good friend Tryphena. Tryphena and I have been friends for seems like a lifetime. Me and her kids are now very well connected, and she's always been connected with my family. You're going to be intrigued by the conversation that we're going to have. You cannot always judge a book by its cover. Remember that, in the positive sense and in the negative sense. We always have to make sure that we're understanding people for who they are and for where they are, and getting to know individuals, getting to know our neighbors, residents, those who are at the grocery stores, those who are within our churches, yes, who we work side by side with on a day-to-day basis. And we never truly get to know a lot about who they are. We got to learn who people are without just looking on the outside cover, because a cover of a book can only tell so much of the story.
And you only can do that by relationship building, whether you breaking bread with each other, having a cup of coffee, learning who your neighbors are, and hearing a little bit about their story and how you guys can connect in different ways. And throughout their life, like she said, we met a long time ago, but we're still friends because of that connection that we made early on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that, what that requires? That requires us having a conversation. Right. Too often we go out and we don't even look at the person next to us. When we're in the aisle paying for our groceries, when we're pumping our gas, oftentimes we don't even look at the people next to us, let alone say hello. Hi, how are you today?
Always too busy, on the run.
Always too busy, short on time, got to go. We have to slow down to get acquainted with one another so that we can truly work together in order to make our homes better, make our communities better, make our society safer. That's the only way it's going to work. You can only do so much by yourself. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yes. So many of you may know me from doing just a lot of work throughout community over about a 30-year period. One thing that we've done for about 23 years is we've hosted a unity march, and it's a unity march against violence. So the march in and of itself, when we march throughout neighborhoods within the city of Flint, is always in a different neighborhood. It's never at the same location. This year is going to be at Ballinger Park, and we're hoping that you all will come out. The date is June 22nd. It's always the fourth Saturday of the month, and it's always 1 week after Juneteenth. It follows Juneteenth, and that was by design. We wanted to make sure we were working in partnership with the organizers of Juneteenth so that we weren't working on top of each other, giving a similar event in the same week, trying to service the same population of folks, and then we divide people rather than unite individuals. So we've been working together for the past 23 years, the Juneteenth parade, as well as the Juneteenth parade and celebration and the purpose of Juneteenth, as well as the Unity March Against Violence. And in speaking about that, I just want to give honor to Mother Deloney, who we lost about a few weeks ago in our community. She was a lifelong resident, did so much in the community, helped so many individuals, and we want to give honor to Mother Deloney in her passing. So in talking about the Unity March, like I said, at 11:30, the march will begin, but we'll start with a brief program at about 10:30 a.m. We'll talk about the why we have done this for the past 23 years and why we continue to do this as we go forward. And then after that, we'll begin to march throughout the neighborhood of where Ballinger Park is located. And once we do that, once we come back, we'll have a community expo. So the march is designed to honor and remember those that we've lost to the system of violence and to the culture of violence. Now, when I say system and culture, people might not understand that. Tryphena, do you want to expound a bit when we talk about the system of violence and the culture of violence and acts of violence?
Acts of violence we see every day in our neighborhoods, on the news. They always highlighting violent crimes, crimes against each other, property crimes. So that's that cycle or culture of violence. When it's okay, people see things that happen on a day-to-day basis and they just become norm. It becomes normalized. And, it's just a part of what they see. So now you don't feel anymore as when people get hurt, when people die. You go through the emotions, but again, it's something that because of where you live, it may be something that you see on a day-to-day basis. Whereas if you're in a different community, the culture of that community is about hope and help and coming together in unity. And so depending on what your neighborhood may be located, your sense of belonging and your sense of protecting each other and looking out for each other, that might be different. And so trying to change that culture when you say, this is not normal. Normal behavior. This is not, when you get mad at someone, don't automatically go and reach for a gun and come back and retaliate or, things like that. So that's that, in that sense of that culture of what you're used to and what you see on a day-to-day basis. A system is really, again, when you think of an ecosystem and the things and the people and all of that's within that area or those neighborhoods and how they work together, whether it's institutionalized or at a neighborhood level or organization or, at the state level, local level. But those organizations, those groups that's within that community and how they work against or for something. So that's how I would think of those two terms, but I'll let you elaborate on it a little bit more.
Yeah, you pretty much hit it on the nose. I heard somebody say the other day that when we talk about systems, we may not see like inequality and racial issues that we have through our community. We may not see them as broadly and as visibly as we did, 100 years ago or 20 years ago or 50 years ago. But someone mentioned the other day, they said, it's just that there is more hidden now. You don't see it as much as you used to see it, back in the times of slavery or back in the times where people were really fighting for equality and things of that nature. And when we talk about a system of violence, it just means that violence, the act of violence, the culture of violence is deeply rooted within our community. It's deeply rooted within the generations of our families, whether that's abuse of person, domestic abuse, whether that's abuse because individuals don't know how to access resources, therefore they tend to dive into drugs and they might get connected to substance abuse and other types of addictive mechanisms. But it's that type of deeply rooted system that really can pull and draw us into this culture and acts of violence. And that's why it's so important for us to show simple acts of kindness and to be kind to one another, to make sure that we're looking at people, because too often people feel invisible, through our community and within their home. And we don't want that system of what they see on TV, relative to their skin color or who they identify as or their economic standing in community. We want people to really feel like they are somebody.
Right.
And the only way to do that is by us reaching out, us making sure that we're showing love and we're truly being kind to one another.
Right. And I have a friend, his name of his organization is Think Before You Act. And so when you begin to create a culture where it's not automatically responding in a violent way because somebody did something against you that you didn't like or it didn't feel good, but thinking before you respond and how you're going to respond so that it can be in a way that can bring about, can kind of bring about a good result or a common, I guess, result without that violence. So without that gun being pulled, or without you having a fist fight, or even in the household, domestic violence is a big issue nowadays. And especially during COVID, when people were isolated and in their homes, and a lot of things happened, whether you were a child or an adult. And again, that culture of violence and how we respond or how we think before we decide to act on.
I often say, take a pause for the cause. If you could just slow down for a moment and pause, just take a 3-second breath or a 5-second breath. If you can do a 10-second breath, that's wonderful. But take a pause for the cause. When you're in a heated argument, when things aren't quite going your way, just take a pause for a moment. Think about where you are. Reset yourself before you respond. And you will come to find that you doing that will not only change how you respond to a situation or to a person, but it will also change the way that person responds to you. So remember that. Take a pause for the cause.
And that kind of gets us right into our topic today when we're talking about when life throws you a curveball. And a lot of us have experienced situations that we didn't expect, and it throws us for a loop. And when you say pause for the cause, what comes to mind to me is let yourself feel when a thing happen to you. Let yourself go through that, whatever it is, and kind of reflect on what's happening. Where do I want to be at the end of this situation or this result, or if it's out of my control, like who can I pull on or connect to help me through? And then get up and dust yourself off. Like whatever that situation may be, you gotta dust yourself off and don't let yourself stay down from whatever that curveball might have been that you received. And even though we get those curveballs, we talked about when I first learned about the Unity March and I joined WOW Outreach as a staff person. And my reason for connecting was when I was a child, just 7 years old, me and my brother was victims of gun violence. I was shot. We were just outside after our birthday party playing kickball down the street, and someone down the street got in a fight. Somebody was talking to their girlfriend, and they went in the house, and now they're going to solve it by pulling out a gun and showing it who's the big and who's baddest. And children got harmed just because of that reaction. That person didn't stop to think about who else they might have been jeopardizing and who else was in the area. So it was a stray bullet that ended up hitting me and my brother. But it was like 15 other kids outside, and so for me, that day, being 7 years old, being shot in my left leg and not knowing, like if it would have hit a main blood vessel, I would have been gone, taken out of this world. But for me, like growing up, living in that neighborhood all my life, it made me fearful. Can I go outside and play? Do I feel comfortable with playing? Are there people looking out for me? Or do I always have to look behind my back or wonder if somebody else is going to come down the street with a drive-by or with a gun because somebody else said something that made them upset or angry or that they didn't like? So again, going back to that culture of violence, are we concerned about our neighbors? Are we wondering what our reaction, what domino effect that may cause to the others that's in our households or living in the communities around us? So that's just one example where, even though I was 7 and now I'm, in my 40s, it's something that I had to live with. It's trauma that I had to deal with in order to not be afraid to go outside, not be afraid to have fun and live like a child, especially when there was other things going on in the household. And it could cause a lot of mental health issues if you don't take the time to deal with that trauma. So that's just one example of when life threw me a curveball at a young age, and knowing that, we did have a connected and a caring community. And so there was people that was willing at that time, when it came time to identify the person that shot us and to testify, that they wasn't afraid to speak. And a lot of times, in my role now and in the community work that I do, I always think about Crime Stoppers. A lot of times people are afraid to report crime, but when they can do it anonymously and provide those tips that could help solve a crime, that's just a good method of changing the culture of violence and being able and being comfortable with. It's not about snitching, but it's about the person that was injured or harmed being able to feel like they can see some justice being served.
Right, and from what I'm hearing, changing the culture of violence, you can't do that by pointing the finger at other people, right? I mean, you can only change the culture of violence by first changing yourself, assessing what's going on within me, and then what's going on within my house, because some of the violence that's happening in community might be right there in our own home.
Yes.
So addressing some of those things, and then moving into community and seeing, how do I be an advocate, an agent of change within my community now that I've fixed myself, I've worked on myself, I've identified some stuff about myself and my own home. And I totally agree about Crime Stoppers, but not only Crime Stoppers. If there's resources out there that can help you with some circumstances that's going on within your home, say you have a young person and you're just at your wit's end, you can't figure out how to help them, then reach out to community. Whether it's Tryphena, myself, Out of the Mud, you may know somebody else, maybe from your church, maybe, just maybe, your next door neighbor. I don't know. But there has to be someone who can speak with your loved one, whether it's your son, your daughter, your niece, your nephew, your cousins, and who can reach them. I know there's been times in my life where somebody outside of my family had to help me with my kids. Yep. You know, my kids listen to them more better and in a more productive way than they did listening to me. And that's always so helpful when you have those persons outside who can show love and who can wrap their arms around those who might feel lost, who might feel hopeless, who may feel invisible. And their alternative is to go to a gang, or to go out and rob someone, or to do some other criminal activities because they need to feed their family, or because hurt people sometimes hurt people. And I understand hurt people also help people once they have found the proper path and they have the right people around them to show them the way. Right. Trauma cannot be ignored. It cannot be avoided. We have to address trauma head on. We got to. You can't bury it. It's only a matter of time before it'll come back up again, before it'll rise back up again. And that brings me to a question I have for you, Tryphena. Being shot at such a young age, and then having this trauma, being nervous and anxious about who's coming down the street, what's that noise, and those types of things. How do you apply your experience to your day-to-day life as you have grown without living in fear?
It's a day-to-day struggle. And, you know, sometimes for me, like I pull so heavily on my spirituality, because without that, I think I would struggle day to day. And even today, you talked about, like, we look at a book by its cover, but we don't know a person's, what they've been through or the process or whatever. And so for my family, as individuals, we suffer with a lot of mental health issues. So depression, anxiety, and I think just stemming from that childhood experience and other things, I have struggled all my life with anxiety. And I just have to recant scriptures. God did not give me a spirit of fear, or when I feel stuck and can't move forward, I'll think about Jeremiah 29:11. God knows the plans that he has for me. And in those scriptures, just calling that out and just meditating on that, and in my prayer life. But then also writing down, the Bible tells us to write the vision, make it plain. I write down my goals and things that I want to accomplish. And if I see barriers, or if there's things that I might be afraid to do, just making myself little checklists. Some people don't like doing checklists, but that works for me, by doing a little checklist and doing a little bit at a time. I remember in high school, my teacher used to say, just look at things like a pebble, because when you look at the bigger picture, and sometimes it seems overwhelming or it seems like it's impossible. But if you break things down in smaller bite-sized pieces, then you can manage it better, and then you can move along to accomplish whatever that goal is that you are trying to achieve in life. So whether you're young, a child age, whether you're a teenager, a young adult, or older adults, really very seasoned, you still can accomplish those goals that you set out to do. It's about being able to face the fear, overcome the fear, and a lot of times find out who you can lean on, Kenyatta. But that friend or that family, that trusted person, that loved one that you can really be honest with about how you're feeling, what you're going through, and then being able to just talk it out with them and pray it. Sometimes for me, it's always praying it out with somebody so that I can be able to achieve what I'm set out to do. So those are, just the little things that help me along the way, because again, since I was a child, there has been multiple things. And sometimes, you know, we say it might be a trial or a challenge. And for me, whether it's the mental health and the anxiety, I saw that come up and me having to face issues multiple times during my desire to complete college, you know, and one time my dad, you know, had a stroke. I'm in school. I had to become a caregiver and wanting to just give up, like, okay, it's too much. I can't finish, but just trying to stay steady, stay the pace. And it might have took me some time to check out for a minute so that I can mentally get myself together so that I can make sure that my dad was taken care of and then going back. And sometimes we might be, you know, feel like we're a failure. You know, it's a lot of things that we got to take control of our thoughts because, you know, we can think all these negative thoughts that discourage us or make us to not want to get up. I talked about before, you know, let yourself feel, you know, let yourself go through the motions. But at some point in time, when you do all of that, you have to get up and keep on going. And so for me, just being able to work through it at my own pace, not looking at what everybody else is accomplishing or what they're doing, my timing might be a lot different from things that Kenyatta can achieve in a shorter amount of time. But know yourself, know what you need, know how you need to take self-care and what that looks like for you. Know who you can lean on and who, you know, you can count on, and just be honest and be yourself without trying to wear a mask or a cover and make it seem like everything is okay when it's not. Because life is going to throw us those curveballs, and we just got to figure out a way to keep on moving forward.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. That's really, really good. So, again, if there's anybody out there, our topic is when life throws you a curveball. What do? Do you just take it? You know, do you just lay down and just kind of roll with it? Or do you roll with it and do you get back up? Do you be productive? Do you do positive self-talk? Do you identify who are some of your supports in community? Do you pray? Do you have a strong faith? Are you connected to a church? Do you have church family? But don't go through it alone. When life throws you a curveball, that's not the end. It might just be the beginning. Mm-hmm. Sometimes bad things happen, unfortunately, for a good reason. And yes, do we go through trauma? Of course. Do we suffer loss? Yes, we do. But even in suffering loss, something good should happen as it relates to our life because of the passing, because of the passing of someone we love. My father passed away in 2018. And do I miss him deeply? Of course I do. But guess what? I'm so much of a better person today because of his life lived. Mm-hmm. If I wasn't doing productive things while I'm honoring and lifting up his memory, then you know what? I'm doing a disgrace to his life and to his life lived. So I am truly a better person today because of my father, because of who he was, what he gave, and what he gave, and how he continues to be a contributor in my life, although he's not here. So when life throws you a curveball, don't give up, don't give in, don't just take it, don't just put your hands up and surrender, but fight harder, fight back, identify who's in your corner, and let's move forward. And let's move forward together. You talked about fear and addressing fear. That's a hard thing to do sometimes, you know, and it's an uncomfortable thing to do. But I know that sometimes we have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, although we don't want to do that. You know, and addressing fear is one of those things. And fear comes in a lot of different ways. It could be fear of anxiety, fear of depression. It could be fear of large crowds. It could be fear of, am I good enough? Fear of trying to get a promotion, but you think, I'll just stay right here. No, don't just stay right there. Don't minimize yourself. Don't sell yourself short. When life throws you a curveball, fight back and fight back hard.
You know what I'm saying? And fear, you know, you have to face it. That's the thing. You have to face it. You may win. You may achieve that goal that you set out to do. You may fail sometimes, but you always learn through those experiences. And one thing that I always say, okay, why am I going through this? I ask myself a set of questions like, why am I going through this? What do I need to learn so that when it comes back around again, because most of the time those challenges come back around again, so that I can be able to go through it a little bit easier and not have so much whatever those, you know, feelings or emotions was that I had to deal with before. But it'd be like easier and smoother to get through those situations. I was going to say something about just believing in yourself. So when it comes to fear, believe in yourself. God equipped me with everything I need to do what he called me to do. And so whether it's a fear of speaking, you only get better by practice. That we learned that when we were in school, elementary school, math, basketball, whatever it was we was doing in school, practice. It may not always make it perfect, but it makes you better each time you apply yourself and you do a little bit more and you hone that skill, whatever it may be. So just facing that fear is the way that you overcome it. And if you fail at it, you'll still learn from it.
I like that. Facing your fear. And I'll share a little later on about facing fears from a personal standpoint. But for right now, I want to go back to oftentimes people don't think. But guess what? Those people who aren't thinking but reacting, they came from somewhere. Either they're with somebody at that moment, or they just came from someone's house, or they just came from a large group of, came from being with a large group of people. So I want to encourage you all not to be afraid to speak up, not to be afraid to speak out. We have to be able to address the things that's happening within ourselves, within our homes, within our communities. Individuals who are a perpetrator of violence, who is reacting really quickly and not taking that pause for a cause, we have to speak up and let them know this is not cool. I'm not down with that. When it comes to snitching, okay, if I take the last Coke out the refrigerator, that's one thing. If I eat the last piece of chicken that my mother or father or brother or cousin really wanted badly, and I eat it and then throw away the evidence, that's one thing. And I tell you, don't say nothing. And you don't say anything, that's one thing. Yeah, that's having my back. That's us being friends. But when you drive down the street or through a crowded neighborhood and you randomly just shoot at somebody, an intended victim, somebody who you want to shoot, but even then we shouldn't be resolving our issues with violence. So if you choose to do something like that and you're with me or you run to my house or something to that effect, I cannot keep that secret. I'm going to expect for you to own up to what it is that you did, because you've taken the life of a kid. I always talk about Danisha, her mom, Maria. We're all connected. She gives back to community. She tries to make sure what happened to her daughter does not happen to anybody else. Danisha went to the store just for a bag of hot Cheetos. And guess what? She never made it home because somebody decided to drive down the street in a crowded at the peak of day and shoot randomly at one or two people. And guess what? It didn't even hit the intended target. It ended up hitting an innocent young girl who never returned home to her mother. So when we talk about taking a pause for a cause, thinking before you act, don't be so quick to react when you're in the heat of the moment, but just slow down, take some breaths, walk away if you can, because it's so important. And it's important for us as citizens, as mothers, as fathers, as brothers, as sisters, as best friends, to say to our people, that's not cool. Don't do that. Do you have a CPL? Are you good with carrying that weapon? Because that could prevent them from going to jail or ending up in the cemetery.
And it's just, countless other situations like that. We hear about people with road rage and someone's get out the car and then they shoot a lady in the car because she cut them off. Again, what are you accomplishing by killing somebody because they cut you off on the road instead of you just slowing down and letting them pass and then getting in the lane you need to go in? Or when it was during COVID, I know a lot of people might remember, the man that went into Family Dollar and, because he didn't have a mask, he was asked to leave or whatever the situation was, and he got mad and, he's shooting the employee. Right. But they're just trying to do their job. So those are the things that we're saying, like, how do we end this cycle of violence? Because we need to learn how to act or respond differently from just automatically not a care for life.
Right. And again, it begins with us. How do we act and respond differently? It starts with us, and then we teach that to our children. We try to encourage those that we love, give them that same spirit. that same advice as to how to not be so quick to pull a gun out, pull the trigger, and shoot someone.
Yep. And so the Unity March is just that act of us coming together, being united, and standing up to say, hey, we're working together and collectively on changing the way our community views how they respond and how they react, so that we know and people know that we won't tolerate violence here. So we have to begin to act, because it's not gonna go unaddressed.
Right. And the Unity March is not just a one-day event. It happens in one day, but we work on this issue of violence, this system of violence, 365 days out of the year.
Yes.
So if you're available, if you're able to help on this cause, on this movement, on this mission, then we need you. And it doesn't matter how big or how small your piece is, as long as you bring your piece to the table and we can work together to address this issue and try to eliminate the violence within our homes and within our communities. If we can eliminate the tolerance simply means I'm not going to ignore it. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to close my blinds. I'm not going to shut my door. I'm not going to say that's not my business, but I'm going to get involved and I'm going to make a difference based on what I bring to the table.
Right.
So if there's anyone who wants to call in, if you have been impacted by violence, if you want to share a bit of your story, if you have a question for Tryphena, who is a survivor of gun violence, then we want you to call in. The phone number to call in is 248-820-5053. 248-820-5053. And then I did say that I was going to share a personal story, and it's really quick before we take our callers. So when Tryphena talk about addressing fear, so this is my first time having a podcast in a really long time. And the reason for that is because I did not want to come on a screen. I wanted to hide a bit. And I knew that if I did a podcast, the podcast is going to be at least 30, 45 minutes to an hour. So that means that I'm going to have to try to control some things. People are going to see some stuff I might not want them to see. And many of you probably know that I came down with Bell's palsy about 7 years ago. And if we could show you the pictures of me with Bell's palsy 7 years ago, you would be like, oh my God, that is not Kenyatta. But yes, it was this side of my face. No, this side of my face. The right side of my face was totally, I couldn't move it at all. My eye was really big, like I had gotten into a fight. It was blacked out. I don't know if you remember some of this. Mm-hmm. But my face was completely, it was like gravity it just came all the way down. And I couldn't do anything about it. I just woke up one day and that's how my face was. So I lived through that for about 3 years. Things were getting better. And then I got into a car accident. So when life throws you a curveball, bam, get into a car accident. Someone hits me and my daughter and I, and the airbag hits me in the face. When it hits me in the face, it reignites my Bell's palsy, but in the Bell's palsy, because it's not possessive to me. So I'm going to try it's not my Bell's palsy. So we don't want to take ownership of anxiety and depression and all those types of things. Right. It's something that I have, but it doesn't define who I am. Yep, say that. So the Bell's palsy, when the airbag hit it, it caused these spasms. So I was just getting to a place of a new normal. And right when I was, this accident came about. Life threw me a curveball. And I didn't know how to deal with it. It was so hard. I hid for a long time, like not really wanting to come out. Not only not doing podcasts, not coming out at all, not going places to social events or anything like that. And when people see me out now, sometimes my face, is kind of like does some funky stuff. Sometimes my eye is a little bigger. My right eye might be smaller than my left eye. A lot of things might happen. But I decided that I can't hide. I just cannot. I have to embrace who I am and who I am in this moment. Mm-hmm. I don't know if things are going to continue to change as I move forward. I don't know. But for right now, I'm facing my fear head on. Yeah. And I'm not letting anything that is going on with me define who I am. I'm going to push through this. And that's exactly what we do, whether it's a personal situation like a physical ailment, Bell's palsy, depression, anxiety, being bipolar, just having anger issues. We have to take those things under control. We have to be able to move forward in a positive way. I pray a lot. I have a strong faith. I have good friends. I have a good family. And so podcasts will continue with everything that's moving, and if things are drooping or whatever is going on, then we're just going to have to push through that. But when you see me in community, or when you see me on a Zoom and stuff is moving, my eyes are blinking, I'm just trying to get it together. Just continue to pray for me. Please don't, bum rush me and be like, oh, what's wrong? Is everything okay? Are you sad? Are you getting enough rest? I do work really hard in community and for my family, but I'm okay. It's just I'm trying to find my balance and get accustomed to this new normal. So with that being said, thank you, everybody. Thank you for your love. Tryphena, we're so happy that you made it through that gunshot and that you're such a strong advocate for community today. So in saying that, we want to turn it over to our callers and see if we can have a bit more of a conversation or answer any questions that you have.
Okay, we got a couple of call-ins. Veronica Triplet said, hello, ladies. Congratulations, Dr. Kenyatta Dotson. We had Jaleel X said, trauma impacted people. Flint deals with layers of trauma, and before the first trauma is addressed, another trauma comes about.
Yes.
So true. So true. And Jaleel always, he's the one who said, who helped me to come up with the term, not only does hurt people or can hurt people, but hurt people can also help people. Jaleel and what he just stated, that really helped me to begin to think about trauma in a different type of way and how we address trauma, how we deal with trauma. First of all, we got to make sure that we're seeing people. Right. I hear so many kids say, my teacher just looked at what I did, but they never asked me, why did you do that? Can I help you in any type of way based on the outcome of what you just did? How do I help you to not do that again as you move forward? So yes, we definitely have to be a light post in our community, within our home. We have to be that strong light, and we have to be able to be a strength for one another. Were there any other questions? Any other viewer comments?
Yes. Sandy Etherly Johnson said, hello there, two are my favorites.
Oh, hey, hello. Sandy. She's one of the best. We will have Sandy on sometime very soon because she has a lot of good stuff to say. Truly some nuggets.
Definitely.
The phone number again is 248-820-5053. 248-820-5053. And I want to give a shout out and to let not only Maria know that we continue to keep Danisha in our thoughts as we do this work, but also Shani with Janeris. We want to make sure to give a shout out to her because these are moms who lost their children, but they haven't stopped giving back to community. They haven't lost hope in the fact that we can live in a peaceful, safe community. So just wanted to give a shout out to them. And I want to say that baby Sky is doing so well. I sent her family the link. I was hoping that they would be able to call in, but they're really busy helping baby Sky to get back to a good place. And baby Sky is the little baby who was who shot herself on accident with a weapon that she found within the home. So we want to definitely continue to keep baby Sky in your prayers. She is doing so well, and hopefully we can have the family on the show sometime soon and give an update on baby Sky for themselves. What else, Tryphena? So not only were you shot and you survived that, and you were able to continue to have a childhood, hopefully somewhat of a normal childhood, and grow into an amazing adult who still gives back to community. I mean, why do that? I mean, your views can be so tainted after being shot as a child.
I give back because there were so many people in my life that helped me along the way. Like I said, being shot was not the only thing that I had to face in my childhood. And so whether it was transitioning in our family, a lot of children go through family divorces and just trying to be relocated and meet new people and get accustomed to new environments, transitioning from high school to college, and that's a whole different environment. And you may have struggled in finding people that are able to help you along the way. So in my life, there was just many mentors, many people that helped connect me to resources, and because of them, I was able to just navigate through life. And I want to be that same support for others, young people and older people. So, since I was younger, I have always found a niche at helping people, like helping older people, young people, whoever. I remember a lot of the older people having gardens in our neighborhood and just snapping peas.
You weren't one pulling up the garden, right? You were helping.
I was helping
to put it down.
Pop the peas, or it's snow time. They can't get out and shovel. I'm out there with the shovel, shoveling the snow. Budgeting. I went to school for accounting, but I was good at finance and budgeting. So I would go and help people write their checks for their bills. So it's always been in me. And that's just a part of my family. I found out I had started a block club when I got to be a young adult. But my mom was like, yeah, did you know I used to be the leader of the block club when I was younger? So it's just a part of who we are. And I just continue that legacy of our family of being able to minister to others. And it's not always about preaching the Bible to them or hitting them upside the head with the Bible, but just loving on people. That's what I call ministry, and being able to help them through. Many times young people, people connect with you in different ways and at different seasons in their lives, and just being able to identify, like, again, God, what is my purpose? What can I be able to assist them with? What do I need to learn from this relationship, or how can I build my character or be a stronger person? So I just love giving back to the community and those individuals that enter into my life as well.
Thank you for that. A lot of people don't know that I served in the military for 8 years. Yeah, little old me served in the military for 8 years. And it definitely helped to shape my life quite a bit. But not only that, when I began working in the workplace, I tell people all the time, you might remember me because I used to work at just about every corner store in the city of Flint. Just about everyone. But once I grew up and I began working in a professional setting, I worked at Insight Recovery Center for almost 10 years. And the executive director there, I'll never forget, his name is Tom Dreyer. And Tom made sure, he said, have you ever thought about going back to school? I said, heck no. I got my associate's degree. What you talking about? Like, I was big stuff. And he said, you should really consider going back to school. He said, and I will support you and help you in whatever way I can. So while I was the executive secretary for Insight Recovery Center, my direct boss, who was the executive director, he made provisions, so that I can go to class on lunch break. I could flex my time throughout the day in different types of ways. Had it not been for him telling me, you should really consider going back to school, he said, time is going to pass by anyway, so you might as well utilize it to your advantage. He said, you'll look back on this time, and people who you're at the same place with right now, or who you're close with right now, they'll be in the same place and they'll be okay with that. And that's cool that they're okay with that. But you can be in such a higher place as you move forward to gain more educational knowledge. And so I took him up on that. I ended up going to University of Michigan. And when I graduated, he said, don't stop. He said, don't even take a break because you'll get comfortable. He said, continue moving forward. So I decided to move forward. I got my master's degree in social work from Michigan State University. And I'm telling you, I may not be this person who you see today being able to do the things that I do had it not been for that man at that particular time. He was in my life for a reason and maybe only a season, because I haven't seen him really since that time. But I was able to get my bachelor's degree and my master's degree. And then quite some years later, I was able to go back to school and get my doctorate degree. But I would never had the motivation to do any of that had he not pushed me in the direction for higher education.
So as an individual, like you said, each of us have our part to do in changing a situation.
We do.
And so we don't recognize the influence that we have on others and how we might touch their life or impact their life to change their trajectory. And so just being conscious of that, like that one interaction that I may have had with that person, whether it's good or bad, it may determine something in their life. So we got like a couple more minutes.
Sometimes you never even see it.
Right.
Sometimes just your acts of kindness, your good deeds, just noticing people. Hi, how you doing today? Have a good day. You look so nice. Things like that. You never know how that impacts a person. So you may never see the fruits of your labor, but just be kind anyway, just because it's the right thing to do.
Right. Any more comments you wanted to share or call?
Oh, no. There's no more comments.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So that is, that what you just said is so true. I want to shout out Tendaji Ganges. I know many of you probably know Tendaji. Remember Tendaji? He gave some nuggets in this community. So many of us are not only in the city of Flint, but even outside of the city of Flint, doing wonderful things because of Tendaji Ganges. So I just wanted to throw out Tendaji's name. And I want to do one more plug for the Unity March Against Violence. The next time we come on, we'll be on every fourth Thursday of the month from 6 to 7 p.m. So please spread the word, put it in your calendar, and make sure that you join us every fourth Thursday from 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. So the Unity March Against Violence, again, June 22nd. This is our way of coming together as a community one day out of the year to remember and honor our loved ones who we've lost to the system, the acts, and the culture in general of violence. And if you want to wear shirts of your loved ones, you're more than welcome to do that. If you want to put a positive message on your shirt, you matter. I believe in you. Flint strong, whatever it might be. Feel free to wear a shirt. If you want to deck out your car, deck out your car. If you want to be in the march and you want to put on your skates. You can ride your scooter, ride your bike, whatever it is you want to do. But we want to be there standing together. When we walk through the neighborhood and people come out on the porch, like I said, we've been doing this for 23 years. People come out on the porch. We want them to see all of us, not just one type of people, but we want them to see many different churches, many different people, many different groups, all there for them because we love them, we support them, we have hope for them, and we want to make sure that they know that they are not in this situation alone.
Yep, and before we end, I just wanted to drop a couple different nuggets that I just mentioned just throughout this broadcast as we're talking about life throwing us a curveball. And what I want to just leave with you is just, again, what you do with the curveball is what matters. You know, we want to make sure that we take the time to let ourselves feel, yourself go through it, all the emotions that comes with that situation, but get back up, dust yourself off, and get with it. So whatever that with it is, you know, you want to just go ahead and move forward. Believe in yourself and believe in your innate strength. Okay, because God gives us the strength to deal with whatever the situation may be. But again, don't try to do it alone or go it alone because we always need someone to help, you know, lean on or get us through or just to even talk with so that we can, you know, release whatever that pain, whatever that suffering, whatever those emotions are, just getting it out to be able to work through them by yourself and with others. And then the scripture that I mentioned for me, the thing that got me through.
Can you say that scripture too? Because I want that to be the last thing I hear. So please, please, please just remember that we're in this thing together. Coming out to the Unity March, if anybody needs help, if you just need to talk to somebody you're not ready to call, like the mental health agency, like GHS or some other resource in community, and you just want to talk, feel free to reach out to, you can send an email to Working Together, to WOW Outreach at Working Together without the G, WORKIN, Working Together, the number 2, because it takes 2 coming together, TWO Gather @gmail.com. That's WOW Outreach's email, workingtogether@gmail.com without the G. And if you want a phone number to call, please call 810-789-7700, 810-789-7700. That's WOW Outreach. You can find me on Facebook at Kenyatta Dotson. And then if you want to be more involved with Out of the Mud with George and James, please hit them up and follow them on Facebook as well at Out of the Mud Inc. Out of the Mud Inc.
Before you say your scripture, Sandy said, "Thank you, ladies. Y'all are awesome."
Thank you. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. We really appreciate you. Please share the word. And it's hard for me to say share the word because that means more people going to see me in my raw element. But that's all right. We're going to keep moving on because we know there's some things that needs to change. And we can only do that by coming out into the light and standing out front. So in saying that, Tryphena, would you have any last words? Reach out to us. Don't try to suffer through anything alone. We are here to help and support.
And I would just say to everybody, find that thing that you can pull your strength from. For me, like I talked about, is my spirituality, is scripture. So I'm going to leave you with a scripture. But for you, it may be a quote. It may be a poem. It may be a song. But find that thing that can help uplift your spirit when you're feeling down, when you're feeling down and out, and you don't have the motivation to get up and keep moving. Find something that you can kind of bring your spirit up. The scripture for me again was Jeremiah 29:1, and it says, "For I know the plan I have for you, declared the Lord, plan to prosper you and not to harm you, plan to give you hope and a future." And so no matter what I come up against, I know that God has a plan for me, and he's to prosper me and a plan for my future. So if I'm still living and breathing and walking in this world, then I know that I got the strength to keep on going.
I love that. So no matter what it looks like right now, sometimes the enemy plays tricks on you, and the enemy use your eyes and your ears, what you see and what you hear in the physical, but don't believe it. Refer to, if you're a person of faith, your higher power, Jeremiah 29:1.
29:11.
29:11. God has a great plan for you. It may not look like it right now, or maybe you're in your element, you're living a life, but there's still even greater. So thank you again for tuning in. We hope to see you out in the community and here on the fourth Thursday at 6:00 p.m.